My name is Amanda P. Morrison, and I am 29 years old. The moment I realized my boyfriend considered me temporary, he was laughing about it with his friends, while I stood 3 feet away holding the drink he had asked me to bring him. Adrian and I had been together for 2 years. In the beginning, everything felt easy. We met through mutual friends, had immediate chemistry, and settled into a comfortable rhythm. He was social, ambitious, and constantly talking about the life he wanted. I was dependable, the woman who arrived when she promised and solved problems without creating scenes. I thought we balanced each other. Looking back, I had been balancing the entire relationship alone. 6 months after we started dating, my company offered me a position in Chicago. It came with a $15,000 raise and a clear path toward leadership. I told Adrian over dinner, expecting him to be proud. He barely looked up from his phone. Chicago sounds miserable. It's a major opportunity. If you take it, we'll probably break up. I'm not moving, and long distance isn't my thing. He said it like the decision was obvious. I rejected the position. Adrian never thanked me. Over time, the way he introduced me changed. At first, I was my girlfriend, Amanda. Then I became simply Amanda. When a woman at his gym openly flirted with him, he did not introduce me at all. Later, he called me insecure for mentioning it. At his cousin's wedding, Adrian told me he wished he could bring someone more impressive. What does that mean? My cousins are bringing surgeons and lawyers. You work in advertising. It's fine, just not memorable. During the reception, he introduced me as someone who worked in marketing, even though he knew that was not my field. On the drive home, he spent 20 minutes praising a cousin's date because she was a physician. That's the kind of woman people remember, he said. I paid 70% of our expenses despite living in Adrian's rent-controlled apartment. Whenever I questioned the split, he reminded me that it was his home and I was only staying there. I stayed anyway. 18 months into the relationship, I asked whether he saw a future with me. 5 years is forever, he laughed. I'm not making promises. I'm asking whether you see this becoming permanent. I'm not settling just because we've been together a while. The words stayed with me. Settling. A month before everything ended, Adrian's friend Michael became engaged to a financial executive who earned more than $300,000 a year. She proposed in Paris. Adrian became obsessed with every detail. This is the level I want, he said, scrolling through photographs. Someone who goes big and doesn't worry about budgets. I took you to Vermont last year. He laughed. Vermont is not Paris. The engagement party took place in a downtown hotel ballroom. Adrian wore a new suit and spent most of the night with his college friends, Michael, Colin, Trevor, and Noah. About 45 minutes in, I stood at the bar waiting for 2 drinks when I heard Colin ask, "When are you and Amanda getting engaged?" Adrian laughed. Not anytime soon. Why? She seems great. She is great. That's the problem. She's safe, reliable, and fine for now, but I'm not ending up with someone like Amanda. I went completely still. Adrian continued. She's a mid-level advertising woman who thinks Vermont is a major vacation. Michael is marrying a finance executive. I need someone at that level. So what is Amanda? Noah asked. My practice girlfriend. She's stable while I get established. But long-term, I need someone more impressive. I'm settling for now, not forever. They laughed lightly. Then Michael saw me. His face went pale. Adrian turned and found me holding both drinks. Amanda, we were only joking. I handed him his glass. Don't worry, I said. You won't get the chance. The chance to do what? To avoid ending up with someone like me. His friends fell silent. Adrian followed me toward the coat check, insisting it had only been private guy talk. No, I told him as I put on my jacket. It was honesty. Probably the most honest you've been in 2 years. If you walk out, we're done. I looked directly at him. We were done before tonight. I was simply the last person to find out. Then I stepped into the cold March night and left him standing beneath the ballroom lights. Adrian called 16 times that night. I did not answer once. The messages began before midnight. You're overreacting. Come home so we can discuss this like adults. It was a joke. Then, when I remained silent, fine, ignore me. I lay awake in the guest room of my friend Vanessa's apartment, staring at the ceiling while every humiliating moment from the past 2 years rearranged itself into something painfully obvious. The Chicago job, the uneven bills, the way Adrian stopped introducing me as his girlfriend, the comparisons to lawyers, executives, and physicians. I had spent 2 years auditioning for a role he had already decided I would never receive. By morning, my sadness had hardened into clarity. Vanessa placed a mug of coffee beside me. You don't have to decide everything today, she said. I already decided. I called in sick and spent the day searching for apartments. By late afternoon, I found a modest one-bedroom across town with a month-to-month lease. It had scratched floors, an outdated kitchen, and enough sunlight to make it feel hopeful. I signed immediately. The rest of the week, I stayed with Vanessa and went to work as usual. Adrian's messages changed tone. I'm sorry if what I said hurt you. We should talk before you throw away 2 years. You know I care about you. He apologized for my reaction, never for what he believed. On Wednesday, he called my office. The receptionist told him I was unavailable. Thursday, he appeared in the lobby. Security called my desk. There's an Adrian Cole here asking to see you. I'm not available. He says it's urgent. It isn't. Please ask him to leave. He waited downstairs for more than an hour. I left through the parking garage. That Saturday, Adrian traveled to visit his parents, a trip he had planned weeks earlier. Vanessa and 2 friends came with me to the apartment. Packing took less time than I expected. Most of the furniture belonged to Adrian. The framed photographs, expensive speakers, decorative shelves, and carefully chosen artwork were all his. My life fit into boxes: clothes, books, laptop, bicycle, a few kitchen items I had purchased. By 3 in the afternoon, I had removed myself from the home where I had spent 2 years trying not to take up too much space. I placed my key on the kitchen counter beside a short note. Adrian, I have moved out. My forwarding address is registered with the post office. I paid my share of this month's expenses. You wanted someone more impressive and more permanent. I hope you find him. Good luck. Amanda. I read it once, corrected him to her, and left. There would be no dramatic letter, no list of everything he had done. He already knew. Adrian returned Sunday evening. Within 2 hours, he called 23 times. I had already blocked his number, so he began using his friends' phones. One message came from Colin. This is Colin. Adrian is falling apart. Please call him. Another came from Michael. He knows he messed up. Can you at least hear him out? I deleted both. Monday night, Adrian showed up at Vanessa's building. She answered through the security camera. Is Amanda there? No. Where is she? I'm not telling you. We were together for 2 years. And you called her your practice girlfriend. I made one stupid comment. Vanessa folded her arms. No. You revealed 2 years of stupid behavior in one comment. Tell her I love her. If you loved her, you would have valued her before she left. Then she ended the connection. The following weeks were strangely peaceful. My new apartment was quiet. I could buy groceries without Adrian criticizing the brand. I could leave books on the table, play music while cooking, and sleep without wondering whether I had disappointed him. I began reconnecting with friends Adrian had slowly pushed out of my life. I returned to the gym. I started reading again. At work, I stopped avoiding projects that might require travel or advancement. Adrian continued trying. During the second week, he found my gym and appeared outside. Staff refused to let him enter without a membership. During the third week, he sent a long email from a new account. The subject read, "Please let me explain." I deleted it unopened. During the fourth week, Colin contacted me again. "Adrian is barely eating. He needs closure." "He received closure when I moved out." "That's cold." "No. Cold was laughing while he told everyone I was temporary." I blocked Colin too. For the first time in 2 years, I was not trying to prove my worth to someone who had already dismissed it. I was simply living. Then, 5 weeks after the engagement party, my company held an industry mixer. I almost skipped it. Vanessa convinced me to go. "You spent years making your world smaller for Adrian," she said. "Start expanding it again." At the event, I was standing near the bar when a familiar man approached. "You look different," he said. "Happier." His name was Daniel Cho, and that conversation would change everything Adrian thought he could still reclaim. Daniel Cho worked for one of our partner public relations agencies. We had met briefly at previous events, but our conversations had never lasted longer than a polite greeting beside a conference table. That night, he seemed different. Or maybe I was finally paying attention. "You look lighter," he said. "I recently removed something heavy from my life." He smiled. "Relationship?" 2 years. His expression softened without becoming pitying. "Same here. My ex-girlfriend and I ended things a few months ago. No betrayal or dramatic explosion. We realized we wanted completely different futures." That sounds unusually mature. It was still painful. Daniel did not ask invasive questions. He did not immediately tell me Adrian had been foolish or make promises about how differently he would treat me. He simply listened when I spoke and offered pieces of his own life without turning the conversation into a competition. We talked for more than an hour. He asked about my actual work, not the vague marketing label Adrian had used when he wanted to make my career sound less important. Daniel understood the campaigns I managed, the clients I handled, and why the Chicago opportunity had mattered. When I mentioned turning it down, he frowned. "You gave up a promotion because your boyfriend refused to discuss possibilities?" I told myself I was protecting the relationship. "And did he sacrifice anything comparable for you?" The answer sat painfully between us. No. Daniel did not say, "I told you so." He only nodded, as if he understood that I was still grieving the version of myself who had accepted so little. Near the end of the mixer, he asked, "Would you like to get coffee sometime? A real conversation without name tags and people pretending to enjoy networking?" I would. We met the following Tuesday. Coffee became 3 hours of conversation. Daniel was funny without performing, confident without needing to make me feel smaller. He spoke openly about his ex-girlfriend, Serena, and why their relationship ended. "She wanted to move overseas permanently," he explained. "I wanted to stay near my mother while she recovered from surgery. Neither of us was wrong, but pretending we wanted the same life would have made us resent each other." There was no contempt in his voice, no attempt to prove Serena had lost something valuable. I noticed that. Adrian had criticized nearly every woman he dated before me. They were needy, shallow, jealous, or unstable. Daniel spoke about his former relationship as something that had mattered, even though it ended. We had dinner that Friday. The following weekend, we went hiking. Nothing felt rushed. There were no confusing games, delayed messages designed to create anxiety, or comments meant to test whether I would compete for his attention. When Daniel said he enjoyed being with me, I believed him. By our 6th date, he had met Vanessa. Afterward, she pulled me aside. He looks at you when you talk. People generally do that. No, Amanda. Adrian waited for his turn to speak. Daniel actually listens. I tried not to smile too widely. 8 weeks after the engagement party, Daniel and I had dinner at a small Italian restaurant hidden between two office buildings. After dessert, he set down his spoon. I really like you. I really like you too. I'm not interested in dating several people while pretending I'm still deciding what I want. I'd like us to be exclusive and see where this goes. There was no grand speech, no strategically vague answer, just clarity. Yes, I said. Daniel smiled. That was refreshingly simple. It should be simple. For the first time, I understood that commitment did not have to feel like a prize someone withheld until I proved myself worthy. Daniel introduced me as his girlfriend without hesitation. He praised my career when we met his friends. When I mentioned wanting to pursue another promotion, he asked how he could support me, instead of listing reasons I should stay where I was. We cooked dinners together, watched terrible movies, and spent weekends exploring places neither of us had visited. By the 10th week, he was staying at my apartment most weekends. He never treated the space like it belonged to him. He asked before leaving things in drawers. He replaced groceries without keeping score. Small gestures, perhaps, but after Adrian, they felt almost revolutionary. Meanwhile, I heard fragments about my ex through mutual friends. Adrian was missing deadlines at work. His friends were growing tired of listening to him replay the breakup. He had lost weight and was apparently checking my social media accounts through other people's profiles. When a group photograph showed Daniel standing beside me with his hand around my waist, Adrian saw it. 2 weeks later, someone from my company's human resources department mentioned that a man claiming to be my brother had called asking for my new address. The caller had been Adrian. I warned building management not to let him inside. But on a Saturday afternoon in early June, while Daniel and I were making pasta in my kitchen, the doorbell rang. Daniel wiped his hands and went to answer it. Seconds later, I heard a voice I had hoped never to hear outside my home. I'm looking for Amanda. Adrian had found me. Daniel opened the door only halfway. Hi, he said politely. Can I help you? I'm looking for Amanda. Every muscle in my body tightened. I stepped out of the kitchen with the dish towel still draped over my shoulder. Adrian stood in the hallway wearing the same dark jacket he had worn the night of Michael's engagement party. His face looked thinner, and there were shadows beneath his eyes. For a moment, no one spoke. His gaze moved from me to Daniel, then past us into the apartment. Fresh flowers sat on the dining table. Flour covered the kitchen counter. Daniel wore one of my old college shirts, and music played softly behind us. Adrian saw the comfort immediately. Who is he? He asked. This is Daniel, I said. Daniel, this is Adrian. Adrian stared at him. Are you dating? Yes. The word came easily. His expression collapsed. Can we talk privately? Anything you need to say can be said here. This is between us. Daniel shifted as if preparing to step away. No, I said firmly. You're fine. Adrian's eyes flashed. I came to apologize. You could have sent an email. I did. You deleted it. That should have answered your question. His face twisted with frustration. What I said at Michael's party was stupid. I was drinking and showing off. The guys were comparing relationships, and I wanted to sound like I had options. You did have options. You chose to humiliate me. I didn't know you were listening. That does not make it better. He stepped closer. You threw away 2 years because of one conversation. No. I ended 2 years because that conversation explained everything. Amanda, I loved you. You tolerated me while waiting for someone you thought was better. That isn't true. You called me your practice girlfriend. Daniel's expression changed. Until that moment, he had known only that Adrian had treated me badly. Now he understood the exact cruelty behind the breakup. Adrian looked at him. She's making it sound worse than it was. Daniel's voice remained calm. It already sounds bad enough. This has nothing to do with you. It became my business when you appeared at her home uninvited. Adrian's composure cracked. Tears filled his eyes. I made one mistake. One. I was insecure, and I wanted my friends to think I wasn't falling behind. Michael was engaged to a wealthy executive. Everyone around me seemed successful. I said things I didn't mean. You meant them when you rejected Chicago for me, I said. He blinked. You mean when I rejected Chicago for you? That is not what happened. Yes, it is. You threatened to end the relationship, so I stayed. You never thanked me, you just expected it. I didn't force you. No, you only made the consequences clear. He wiped his face angrily. I haven't slept properly in months. I can barely eat. My job is falling apart. My friends are tired of me talking about you. I know I ruined everything. I felt sadness, but not temptation. 3 months earlier, those words might have pulled me back. I would have mistaken his suffering for proof of love. Now I understood that regret often begins when consequences arrive. You miss what I did for you, I said. You miss the bills I paid, the stability I provided, and the woman who stayed no matter how small you made her feel. I miss you. You discovered my value after I stopped giving it to you. His gaze moved toward Daniel. And you replaced me with him. You're not replaced. You are simply no longer part of my life. You barely know him. Daniel reached for my hand. The gesture was gentle, but Adrian saw the certainty behind it. He has treated me better in 3 months than you did in 2 years, I said. That broke whatever remained of Adrian's control. So that's it? You're going to marry some man you met at a work event? I don't know what will happen years from now, but Daniel wants to be here now. He does not treat me like a waiting room. Adrian glared at him. You think you're special? Daniel did not raise his voice. No, I think Amanda is. Adrian looked back at me. Please, we can go to therapy. I'll change. I'll support your career. I'll prove you're the person I want. You had 2 years to decide that. I was scared. So was I. I was scared that leaving meant I had failed. Then I realized staying was the failure. His tears ran freely now. I hope you understand what you're throwing away. I'm not throwing anything away. I already left behind the relationship you described to your friends. He stepped backward. When he leaves, don't call me. He is not my practice boyfriend. Adrian's face hardened. Enjoy your mediocre life. I looked past him toward the hallway. I already am. He turned and walked away. We heard his footsteps disappear down the stairs, followed by the heavy slam of the building's front door. Daniel closed my apartment door and locked it. You okay? He asked. I took a slow breath. Yes. And for the first time, that answer was completely true. The next morning, Adrian sent one final email. The subject line read, I said what I said. For a few seconds, I considered opening it. Part of me wanted to know whether it contained an apology, an accusation, or another attempt to convince me that I had misunderstood him. Then I deleted it. Whatever Adrian had written could not change what he had already shown me. He had spent 2 years treating my loyalty like weakness, my career like an embarrassment, and my love like a temporary convenience. I was finished allowing him to rewrite that truth. Daniel and I returned to the pasta we had abandoned the previous afternoon. The dough had dried beyond saving, so we ordered takeout instead and ate from cartons on the kitchen floor. "I'm sorry he came here," I told him. Daniel shook his head. "You don't need to apologize for someone else refusing to respect your boundaries." That sentence stayed with me. Adrian had trained me to apologize for every inconvenience, including the ones he created. Daniel never demanded that I carry responsibility that did not belong to me. Over the following weeks, mutual friends occasionally shared updates about Adrian. His company placed him on a performance improvement plan after he missed several deadlines. He lost more weight and went on dates that apparently ended with him comparing every woman to me. The woman who had not been impressive enough had somehow become the standard no one else could reach. Colin told Vanessa that Adrian's friends had finally stopped answering his late-night calls. "It's sad," Vanessa said. "It is," I replied. But sadness did not create responsibility. I hoped Adrian recovered. I hoped he learned to recognize people's value before losing them. I simply did not need to stand beside him while he learned. 4 months later, I ran into Michael at a coffee shop near my office. The engagement party had become a memory I could think about without feeling physically sick. Michael approached carefully, holding his coffee with both hands. "Amanda, can I speak to you?" "Sure." He looked uncomfortable. "What Adrian said at my party was cruel. Several of us told him afterward. I should have stopped the conversation before you heard it." "You didn't know I was there." "That doesn't excuse us laughing." I appreciated that he did not call it a misunderstanding. "Thank you for saying that." He glanced toward the window. "I heard you're seeing someone." "Daniel." "Is it serious?" "Yes." Michael nodded. "Good. You deserve someone who knows what he has." Before leaving, he added, "Adrian is still having a difficult time, but that is not your problem. I hope he figures things out." Michael studied me. "Do you really?" I considered the question. "Yes. I hope he finds whatever he was searching for. I'm only grateful it isn't me anymore." That evening, I told Daniel about the conversation. "Do you ever think about Adrian?" he asked. "Sometimes." Daniel remained quiet, giving me room to be honest. "Not in a what-if way," I continued. "More in a thank God I finally left way." He laughed. "Excellent answer." 6 months later, Daniel and I moved into a new apartment together. It belonged to both of us. We chose the furniture together, divided the expenses evenly, and made decisions without one person holding the relationship over the other's head. When my company offered me another advancement opportunity involving travel and additional responsibility, Daniel opened a bottle of wine. "You're accepting it, right?" I wanted to discuss how it would affect us. "We will figure that out. You are not turning down your future because I'm afraid of inconvenience." I accepted the promotion. 1 year after we moved in together, Daniel took me hiking along a quiet trail overlooking the lake. The sky was pale gold, and the air carried the first cold hint of autumn. At the overlook, he reached into his jacket pocket. There was no audience, no Paris backdrop, no performance designed for social media. He lowered himself onto one knee and asked whether I wanted to build a life with him. "Yes." The answer came before he finished the question. There were no qualifications, no vague promises, and no suggestion that either of us might eventually find someone better. Adrian once believed I was not marriage material. The truth was simpler. I was not meant to marry someone who treated relationships like auditions and people like temporary roles. I had always been worthy of being chosen. I simply needed to stop waiting for approval from a man who benefited from making me doubt it. Daniel never called me safe as though it were an insult. He called me home. And this time, I knew the difference.